governmental level. I mean, I'm talking like major universities, major institutions from the governmental level have devoted centers now to try and understand how to teach kindness, how to infiltrate it more in our society, and it's a real thing. There's a lot of benefits, just actually mental health and physical benefits of practicing kindness daily. It's almost like our first go-to when anybody comes into our office. Like we right away start with some kind of volunteerism if they're anxious or depressed, or some kind of contribution to another person. Just the practice of being kind. We know that it increases serotonin and oxytocin, which are neurotransmitters that make us feel really good inside. It decreases anxiety. Actually, they've done a study that people who commit 6 acts of kindness a week have lower instances of anxiety. And it lowers overall stress and exhaustion, just like giving. The problem because of this swimming of neurotransmitters within neurotransmitters in the brain. It actually has an impact on a person's physical health. They call kindness the cardioprotective virtue because it dilates blood vessels and it actually lowers blood pressure. So they see a direct correlation between people who practice kindness and better heart health. Okay, so can it be taught? It's kind of like a weird question because I'm sure some of you have kids who you feel like, no, they're a little bit nicer and they're easier, like kinder kids, and then some kids are a little bit more rigid. Some of it's nurture a little bit, some of it's nature, how they're born, but kindness is definitely a virtue that can be taught. Everyone across the board has seen it, they've studied it through MFRI scans, they really believe that it's a muscle in the brain that just needs to practice over and over, and that's how something becomes fun, really. Even teenagers, thank you so much. Even teenagers can, if they're not haven't been kind, and they haven't been kind for many years, can actually start being kind by practicing it over and over again. So there's hope, whoever is teenagers. Okay, so when I spoke about a governmental level, Harvard University was really given this charge to first understand why people aren't being kind, figure that out, and second, how they can help parents be kinder, how they can help schools be kinder. And once you have Harvard, I guess, on your side, you're like in pretty good shape because they just took the smartest people and put this initiative together called Making Caring Common Project. It's a great website. It's really, it's accessible to anybody. And what they did was, before they were going to make all these suggestions, they figured we got to have some hard data. So they interviewed 10,000 students and their parents across a socioeconomic, very heterogeneous mix of people. And this is what they found. They were very surprised. Okay? 80% of kids today said that parents were more concerned with their happiness and achievement rather than whether they cared for other people. 80%. They were happy, they cared more about their achievement and happiness than whether they were caring individuals. So this was really surprising because the folks at Harvard went back to these parents and told them this results. And they had anecdotal evidence, they had all this data, they presented it to them, and a few children, essentially this was the message. My parents are prouder if I get good grades in my class than if I'm a caring member, community member, in the class in school. So the parents were really upset. And they said, no, of course we don't believe that. Of course we want our children to be kind. And the folks at Harvard said, well, something's not getting transmitted properly here. They're not getting that message. You're really not. So it was shocking for the parents. The kids were kind of like, this is what it is. Like, I'm supposed to be more, academic and achieving than really being kind. That's clear, that's 80%. So Harvard said, okay, we better come up with some ideas here because something's not working. And they came up with 5 suggestions which are practical, and I want to present them to you in a very succinct manner, things that we can do in our daily lives, and they brought it to the schools as well. We've created curriculums and all these different initiatives. There are 5 ways that we can make our children believe that we really care about kindness, and we want them to prefer kindness over achievement. The first is the kindness priority. I'll go through each one of the slides to come. Creating kindness opportunities, expanding their circle of care, being role models ourselves, and supporting emotional regulation. I'll go through that so we can give some examples. Okay, we all say kindness, of course, is important. We talk about it from a Jewish perspective. No one would argue with me that kindness really isn't such an important perspective. But we have to pay real close attention to whether what we believe in our heart is really being transmitted to our children. Yes, they need to balance their needs. This is the reality of the society today. They need to achieve, they need to work hard, but unless we're emphasizing this as individually and as a family, they're not going to get it. They're going to see it as like kind of low on the list. And there's many realms that we can express kindness in. There's many, day-to-day examples of our interaction with our children and our spouses to kind of bigger, large-scale initiatives. If our children can get the message, and I'm going to talk a little bit about happiness in a second. I'm not saying we don't want our kids to be happy. But the most important thing, instead of saying the most important thing is that you're happy, the most important thing is you're kind. Happiness is important, but it's not working. Our emphasis on our children being happy and making sure they're okay has decreased resilience, has increased depression, has increased anxiety. Because we're just walking around going, we just want you to be happy. And that's not the world, and that's not how things work, and it hasn't built those muscles in them, that grit and perseverance, because we just want you to be happy. The emphasis of wonder, everyone I'm sure saw the movie or read the book, was choose kind, right? If given the choice between being right and being kind, choose kind. There was so much power in that movie, but if we could just let it sink in more, there was so much that kind of the messages that the kids could absorb. Okay, the other thing is creating kindness opportunities. So there's like large scale, which is like volunteering. There's so many organizations in the community that are, anyone who knows of the food bank, they're so open and welcoming for anyone to come in at any point. If you call them on a Friday and say, I have kids that need to volunteer, bring them. You make an appointment with them. High Lifeline, Esther Fetterman has always ideas of kids that could, it's endless in our community. It's not even just Jewish things. You could volunteer with any of the hospitals once the kids get older. They have to be 16. There's not a lack of organizations, even though we live in Miami. And the second one is helping friends. So as a community, do your kids see you making sugar meals for people? Do your kids see you involved in other people's lives that are struggling? Kind of that's on like that second level. And then the small scale is day-to-day what goes on in your family. Can the older kids help the younger kids make their lunches? Can the older kids be reading with the younger kids? Can the 6-year-old help the little ones, get ready in the morning? There's all kinds of opportunities in our day. It's really just honing in our eyes towards this. And having a family mantra is so important, where everyone feels like this is our family value. We're clear about what kindness is. Kindness is thinking of others, not just yourself, and giving lots of examples of it. There's certified kind classrooms. This came out of Wonder as well. This was fabulous. R.J. Palacio, the author of Wonder, said, if you guys do the following things in your classroom, she had all kinds of ideas on how to make it kind. I'm going to make you a certified Wonder classroom, whatever it was. It was great. Banners, little mantras throughout, little messages that kids are getting, and the daily repetition of it. Actually I'll get to that in a second. Okay, when you create a kindness, family culture of kindness, it's also looking at times like we just had Hanukkah, or birthdays, or other times of the year where there's lots of gift giving or emphasis on materialism, and asking ourselves who is in this world that has less than us and who needs to benefit from us. Just kind of scaling down and giving to others really can be powerful. Okay, so in your packets on the, it didn't make it, Rena. Okay, I'm going to email it to you all. Sorry, that wasn't the email that I had sent. Okay, I'll send it to you. Okay, so one of the initiatives, I think this is the University of Wisconsin, they came up with something called the Great Kindness Challenge. It was originally for schools. It's great. It's a week in February or January. They had 97 countries throughout the world participate in it. It's a list of early elementary all the way to high school, a checklist of all these acts of kindness that kids can do. And they were so shocked by the response of it. They thought it was, incredible. They said, okay, we got to make a family edition. So I can send it to you. Arena has it on her email after. It's a checklist of all kinds of day-to-day acts of kindness. It's beautiful that you can do just as your family. You can choose any week of the year. They have a week that's designated for family, and you all kind of participate in this global community of kindness. Get your neighbors involved, commit as a family. It's fun. There's like cute little slogans, and maybe there's an initiative. I actually would advise not doing it for a prize. Some schools, I think what the prize is for schools is they get to donate $500 or a few $1,000 to a charity. They get to choose which charity. That's their prize. Really to try and stay away from extrinsic rewards towards kindness. We want children to feel the intrinsic reward of just doing something kind. We don't want to bribe them, motivate them. You know, should our family have some special experience if we could do this? Yes. But prizes, it just kind of diminishes and takes away from really what the, you know, inside feeling they could get. If anyone has any questions, just type in. So, yeah, kindness without reward, very, very powerful. Kindness for the sake of kindness. Kindness for the sake of the internal feeling you get from that serotonin and oxytocin blowing up in your brain when you do something good. If kindness is replaced with, and I'm going to get you the iPhone, blah, 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 when this is all done, we lost it. We lost such a good, rich opportunity because the child can feel it themselves inside. Like, there's nothing more powerful than feeling good by helping another person. Before they leave, asking children this question, or having it posted, because the mornings are all crazy, especially in Casa Gutfreund here, but asking your children, how can you make someone's day better? Who needs an encouraging word? What could you do to just brighten someone's day? It's just a focus question. It's not going to change everything, but it's what you're leaving with them. If you can't do this because you're too harried in the morning, type out notes and stick them in their lunch. What's one person's day? Who needs a cheerful smile? What can you do for the teacher that's kind today? And it gives them that focus. Okay, the third point was expanding children's circle of care. We think because we have the internet that we are in everybody's living rooms, but we're not. Children are much more self-absorbed, and they're actually only really quite concerned with their few friends in front of them and their family members. They're not really concerned with that. Now, in those two realms, it's important, but who else can they be thinking about in this world, right? When there's the missiles being shot into Syria, there's children there, there's 10-year-olds there, there's 7-year-olds there who are running into shelters. Can we write them a note? Can we send them an email? Can we dial in for them? Expanding the child's circle of care. So it's done in two ways. One is that, the zoom out, which is who else in this world really, a 10-year-old needs your help, even when there's a snowstorm somewhere and people are struggling, and there's the hurricane, and people are struggling. There's a 10-year-old, there's a 12-year-old, there's a 16-year-old somewhere who's struggling. When I say zoom in, what I mean is kids need help perspective taking. And when they're fighting with someone at school, and they come home and they had a bad day with a friend or something like that, instead of standing by your kid and taking their side, which they need empathy and they need support, asking your child the question of what else could they be going through in their heart right now that's struggling for them? What else is challenging for them? So it's helping sharpening their perspective, I think can broaden their heart and enable them to be kinder. There's a lot of social media kindness heroes. We could spend a lot of time doing this. It doesn't take you more than 5 seconds to pull someone up. There's this amazing story of these cool high schoolers. We showed the video to the teachers. They did this secret breakfast club of kindness in this very low socioeconomic neighborhood. And they were silent about it for months. And they somehow just performed all these acts of kindness secretly. They got Starbucks to sponsor them, brought coffee every morning for the teachers, had a huge Christmas celebration. I think they collected 800 cans of food for the food makers, and all done secretly with no money. So that's very powerful. I would choose your kid's age group and Google. There's these great high schoolers that are doing all these kind things for kids with Down syndrome and basketball. There's lots out there. Always expanding our circle of care is very, very important. Leave a note in the post box for the postal service person. Or have the guy, get your kids to write a thank you note to the garbage collectors. They just assume the garbage man just comes and takes it. There's people that the UPS guy, whoever it is, expanding their circle of care of who else matters to them. Okay, I'm going to speak about role modeling. This is from the Harvard team that actually this is the most powerful way. Actually, it's better not to talk about kindness, just lecturing. They said actually that's not effective anymore. So just talk about it briefly. But the most powerful mode, really, to inspire children is for us to do it ourselves. And it's to bring examples. There's a lot of examples in the Jewish world of people who are kind, obviously. But it really comes down to the day-to-day actions of how we speak about others, us speaking disparagingly about other people, our social media and what we're looking at. That's actually the most effective form of inspiration. There's many beautiful examples of women in our community. These three, unfortunately, have all passed away. and Rebbetzin Machlis. They're two wonderful books about her. If anyone's not seen them, they actually made a teenage book now on Rebbetzin Kanievsky and Hani Machlis. Tremendous Bali Chesed. This is a woman who unfortunately was killed in a terrorist attack. And no one really knew about her until she died, but she was a nurse with Sharet Zedek, and she had grown up actually in an orphanage in this beautiful Beit El-Ezrahi place in Netanya, and she had adopted many children, and just reading about these people and sharing it, it's an inspirational story, it's a sad story. Fortunately, she was killed in a terrorist attack, but it doesn't take 5 inches before we could find somebody in our community to really show. These are obviously icons of Chesed. I'm not sure if we're supposed to be like that.
Take the Henny Mathis book out to the middle school this year for the girls. That's amazing. The teen ones.
And with that book, Rebbetzin Machlis, she was an extremely unique individual. The message of her life actually was that she worked on herself, and it wasn't easy for her, all this chesed that she did, but she practiced it. And I think that message can be very powerful for young people as well. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit a dose of mussar of how we speak to other people. You know, I give a lot of presentations, and I got really stunned because I go into my daughter's class at Torah Semes to do social emotional work. And we talked about deep breathing before we really get upset. And I got really upset one night, and she screamed at me back, "You come into classes, and you give all these nice lectures, and you said we were supposed to count to 5 before we scream, and you're not doing it. I'm going to tell the whole class that you're not doing it." It's very nice, very prideful. But it's true. I mean, what she said was true. You know, we can talk and lecture all we want, and if we're not practicing it and walking the walk, they're not going to get it. And we are our most powerful, vices towards our children. I, worked with the teachers in this school, and everyone's on board, and everyone knows the teachers have to speak the same way and speak with kindness as well. And they're with them a lot also. The teachers have a very big impact, so we address that. Also, avoiding uncharitable speaking about other people. Just Lashon Hara is our mandate. We don't do it, but just kind of taking your own self-evaluation of how much it's happening. Okay, emotional regulation is like a whole topic on itself, but what I would say is this: some kids just have a hard time managing their feelings when they get really upset. Practicing emotional regulation, learning the skill set, there's tons, there's a great book called Self-Reg, helps kids kind of create some space inside of them to consider another person's opinion. So instead of right away screaming and hitting and reacting and being very aggressive, asking kids questions like, can you use a kinder word to say that? How can you settle this in a kind and peaceful way, right? Bringing the kindness. Would you be kind enough to help your sister pick up the family room? So bringing the language of kindness almost as like another emotional regulation skill into the paradigm is helpful. Okay, I brought some books today. There's some books still left at the library. These are here. I'm just going to leave them out and we can pass them around. We all had our favorite children's books growing up, whatever it was, all the Dr. Seuss books. But the emotional literacy world has literally taken off. And there's just, on any subject, there's wonderful books from little teensy, itsy, like 0 to 6-year-olds to teenage books on really expanding their emotional literacy. There's some excellent ones here on kindness. Not Jewish, just regular day-to-day books. One that I'll just really, there's so many, they're so good. And this is something that's done in the school. This book is called Have You Filled Your Bucket Today? It's a daily guide for happiness for kids. It's about being kind. There's a whole curriculum, all kinds of Pinterest ideas on ideas on how you can really incorporate this into your family. But it's endless, and you just choose your age group, and you can go online. If you can't find any, please email me. I'm happy to make some recommendations. In addition to Wonder, this is a great book, El Defado, about a child who's deaf. It's more for like a middle school. It's very good. It's kind of based on Wonder ideas. These are all, even these younger ones, they're picture books, but they're so good for older kids. The reason why stories, I think, are so powerful, first of all, it's good bonding time for parents and kids, but also it gives you a chance for perspective taking. So if a child's having a hard time with kindness, you can ask the child to reflect about the character in the book and how what was hard for them. there was one that was really good, this one, about kids who have a hard time being kind, and using that as a springboard for like a bigger discussion of what could be. How are we doing for the time here? Can I wrap up?
Like 10 more minutes?
10 more minutes? Okay. Okay, I'm happy just to take questions, but I just want to bring to the attention 3 books that I really have been using in my work, and they're very practical parenting books. So one is called, the first one is called Unselfie, Why Empathetic Kids Succeed in Our All About Me World. This is by Dr. Borba. It's an excellent book. It's really about how we can shift our kids from the emphasis of narcissism, which they feel every day, to an emphasis on empathy. And study after study about why empathy is actually, if you are empathetic, you're going to have the advantage in this world. The second book is by Dr. Lacona, which is outstanding as well, called How to Raise Kind Kids and Get Respect, Gratitude, and a Happier Family in the Bargain. He's an old school psychologist, done a lot of research, spent a lot of time with families, is almost like flabbergasted by like society today because he feels it's, we've shifted so far from the way traditional families have been run and raise children well, so that's very good. And the last one is how to raise kind kids and get respect, gratitude and kindness, a modern parent's guide to raising children in the era of entitlement. And they all really address these, social media issues, the sense of entitlement. Yeah, first of all, Google all of these authors because there's a lot. They've all spoken, they may have TED Talks or they may have some interviews. I believe Dr. Lacona has a podcast that I think I have on my computer. If you want, you can email me and I'm happy to send it to you. But yeah, you just, even Googling them, they're very, very well-spoken and they speak. Actually, I think Dr. Borba is like her Good Morning America or something like that. She's like the main psychologist that she's interviewed a lot. Ali Feldman at gmail.com. Feldman@gmail.com.
And I'm going to send out, there was a paper that was going around for your email addresses, and I can send out the PowerPoint after for anyone who's interested. Yeah.
And again, this is just kind of really, touching the iceberg, the beginning of the iceberg with it. There's a lot that can be done. I think a lot of it takes mindfulness and a commitment as a family to direct your efforts towards this. It doesn't take a lot of like real creativity. It just kind of takes a moment or two of like silencing the noise and the chaos and thinking where is an area where our family can really shift towards. It could just be in words to one another. I'm not suggesting everyone take on the Federation campaign and become the president of the Federation. I'm not suggesting that, although if you practice volunteerism regularly as a family, just like you play ball and you go to movies, and this is just something that's brought into day-to-day life, it's very powerful. And it does start with us. I really gave a strong charge to the teachers because they spend so much time with these kids. And I do have to commend Hebrew Academy because I know that you've done so much over the past couple of years to really address the bullying issues, to really emphasize and raise the bar of kindness. I think that's duly noted, Rena, and the principals as well. So it does, we do rely on our teachers, but the teachers can't do it alone, and the school culture can't do it alone. And if parents, thank you all for coming, and you're probably the parents that don't necessarily need to be here because you're the ones that are thinking about it. But if it doesn't come from a systemic family level, this isn't going to work. And that's what all the research is saying. The University of Wisconsin, Richard Davidson has this huge initiative that was actually encouraged by the Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama has been very instrumental in a lot of these initiatives because his whole thing is kindness and compassion. And people are turning to him because of the chaos of our world today. So there's a lot we can do. It doesn't have to be so grand scale. I think just individually looking at our relationships with our children, how our families are conducting themselves, bringing these books in, taking the kindness challenge. Send me an email if you do. I'd love to hear about it. And I'm open to any questions if you have. I hope it was beneficial.
You mentioned helping out in the house creates like a kindness thing. How do you balance the making your kids resentful? Like there's like a balance of like
yes.
helping out and making it like too stressful for them?
So a few things. First of all, you have to choose jobs that are appropriate for kids. They can't be like scrubbing toilets when they're like 4.
And how do you like present it even?
So again, there's it's a very delicate balance of like mommy and daddy have gone crazy and now they're making us all be kind. To kind of doing it slowly, like I would say on like a marathon level type, doing it slowly, not having some big grand meeting, but like this is one thing that we're doing. So actually, instead of giving allowance or instead of giving you a prize every time you pick up the toys, I'm just going to give you a kind word. You don't need to say it to them. This is how we're going to do things now. But I would do it slowly, because you know what? We know from a psychobiological level, they will get a reward for it. No one feels better, no child feels better than a positive word. No iPhone X, no Xbox, or whatever it is, they feel actually over time. But it's doing it slowly and methodically and not, I'm not saying like, every time my kids see a new book at the house, they're like, oh, family meeting, like, oh, new rules, like, she went crazy again. They're like, it's not, it's true, because I go to the state. They're like, yeah, they run, they move out. The crazy lady with her book. But we can do it slowly. We can do it incrementally. Yeah.
Oh, Allie, I just wanted to chime in kind of about the idea of family meetings and chores. I personally think it's a really good idea to have a family meeting in your house once a week. In our house, we do it on Sundays. That way, it doesn't, when you want to present something, it doesn't seem like, oh, here's mom again.
Right.
It's just a natural thing that the family does. We give compliments. We go over the week's schedule so they know what's happening. We say what's happened in the family this week that we need to address. And then we end with gratitude. So I really think that if you make that a part of the family, the other thing is, and there's a lot of schools of thought on, do I give an allowance for chores, or do we, this is how I do it. And again, I'm not like a guru, but I would say everyone is part of this family. We all have to contribute. You are not going to be paid for chores. However, you will get an allowance. So whether or not you do your chores, you will still get your allowance, because the allowance is part of being a member of this family. I don't buy them things during the week. They have to save up for whatever they want. So when we go to the store, they buy it. They want candy, that's from your allowance. Because I don't want them to think like I have to, like I'm just getting paid to do this. I want them to think that you contribute to this family, you do your chores, because that's what's part of being a member of community, like
and
a community
then they
member.
don't do the chores?
But again, there's many schools of thought on that. A lot of people, other people say, no, you do have to, like, that's showing them that you work for things. I mean, again, it's a very personal thing. So I just wanted to share that. But I think the idea of a family meeting is important, because, when you do want to say, yeah, I just learned about this new thing, and I think it's really cool. The kids aren't like, oh my God, this is weird. It's just a very natural part of the family system, and that this is how we learn from each other.
Also, that's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Less talk and more just doing, really. Like, it's not so much about this whole grand announcement, but just kind of, if they don't do their chores, that's kind of like another parenting thing. It's almost like what
See, because if you're not giving a reward, which I agree with, I don't think that the allowance is really, whatever. But then each child has their responsibilities, and inevitably they're children, and then they won't, or they will. And then
right. So I think the allowance, I hear what you're saying, there's a lot of people that hold by that, just they need money. Some kids need money, they need it, that's what it is, and you don't want them asking you every 5 seconds for something. The question about chores and versus kindness, I think you kind of have to separate those two, right?
totally different.
So if there's, let's say the breakfast dishes aren't cleared in the morning, that's their chore that they have to do, whatever it is. So what's the I'm like natural consequence lady. So what's the natural consequence of it? I guess your breakfast is still sitting there when you're having dinner at night. That's not very pleasant.
But let's say taking out the garbage. That's not going to affect the child, is it? It just garbage is just sitting outside in the side of the house.
Right. So what privilege, I guess?
Not in his room.
Right. What privilege? Well, that would be pretty bad if he's in his room.
I'm saying.
What privilege does the child get, or opportunity they get, if they don't do
I'm saying
it?
that there has to be laid out consequences for not.
Laid out. I think that's a kind of separate question about how the family functions and how kids each contribute to it.
Right.
And if they're not right, there has to be, I guess, natural consequences to that. If it's movie nights on Thursday night and we can't do it because this just didn't happen this week, we have to do all the chores that week. That's, yeah. I'm gonna come back to it. Yeah.
What about kids who are kind to others but horrible to their siblings?
Good, really good. That's good. Amplify it outside, amplify it. Like I would just spend a lot of time mentioning how kind they are to another child. and how, wow, you see that strength in them. You know, you see that strength in them because something, well, unless there's kind of some issue between the two of them that's constant, but you know that that person's capable of being so super kind. They are the kind kid. You know, the parents know them as that kind kid. You know, I would kind of emphasize it.
It just seems like there's a disconnect when it's
Sure.
about the sibling, then it's always like, I don't have to be nice to that person. Because that person annoys me.
Right. Right. Yeah, they push the buttons. Yeah. Yeah, emphasizing their strengths, I guess, with it. Also, I think as parents, we can say what our baseline is about what we'll tolerate. You know, I've worked with a lot of families, especially kids who are bullying. And until I could get the parents on board with me that there is zero tolerance for bullying, the kid wouldn't change. Until the parents could emphasize empathy and work with the child on building empathetic skills. And there were some kids that were terrified because the parents said, that's it, we're done. We're not going to accept this anymore. So I guess what the consequences are. Part of it is like the feeling that we're creating in our homes. Let's say the dinner table is so toxic because everyone is just, we can't have dinner like this. We're not going to be able to have dinner like this. Everyone's going to have to be in their rooms. We're going to have to restart again tomorrow. We're just not allowing it to go on and on. And like, I think that just being very firm with the kids. If we don't allow this talk, you know, Daddy and I don't speak to each other, or we don't speak to our grandparents like this. We're just not allowing it. A lot of it is like nipping it before, but you can pull it back. You can regain it. Did I address your question? Building up their skills. Also, another good thing with siblings when they really fight is getting them to work on something together, giving them some kind of shared project or shared hobby, that just the two of them, the two that are really, really fighting. Sometimes just removing everyone and the two of them on it on, whether it's a puzzle or learning to bake or making slime or whatever it is, can help. Believe it or not, like we wouldn't think this, that emotional regulation and emotion.
It's not emotional. I mean, my works, you know, it's like, is there an opposite?
Again, the golden rule is always in the middle. So creating opportunities where maybe screaming endlessly for hours is not acceptable, but maybe if you're feeling whatever it is, you're allowed to do it for a few minutes. You're allowed giving your kids words. Maybe that's what it is also. Emotional regulation. They did a study on the names of emotions that people know. There's 3. Mad, sad, and happy. There's 30 that we're supposed to know. Disappointed, frustrated, angry, scared, overwhelmed. Just even by expanding your kids' words can help as well. But there's some really great books on emotional regulation. Email me, I'm happy to send them to you. Thank you. Question? Yeah.
Something I see where, like, you talk, if someone reads a secular book to a child, that's definitely considered amazing kindness, or going, you know, to the bank or whatever. But I think one thing that maybe we need to work on in like these schools is to acknowledge that it's really time for, like, I encourage my son to read the Torah for the whole shul, but we don't see that as a kind act, even though it's an act for the community. Or, like, if we're around relatives that don't know some Jewish thoughts, I think they're more embarrassed and don't see that sometimes as a kind thing, but to educate not only in secular subjects, but in Jewish subjects to expand, I think is also a kind thing, but we never put it out there that that's kindness.
That's so good. I'm so glad you mentioned it because it's not these large-scale things. It is day-to-day things that, and it's such an incumbent part of our society, our culture, and community, the way we live. So giving day-to-day examples like that, it's huge. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions? Did I address? Yes? Okay. I feel like I want to think about more what you said, of like when kids are not kind to their siblings. I'm going to think about it. Yeah.
Maybe in those like family meetings, talk about like what she said, like go around saying like what could you see good in everybody, like bring out the positive like attributes in each kid and each kid has to say what they see in each kid.
Great. There's a theory my sister-in-law, she's a writer, she came up with called awesome jars, where she has these mason jars with everyone's name on them, and kids are forced like that to say something nice. You write it in a note, and you put it in the box throughout the week. I actually presented it to the teachers as well. They have it at Bravo Box, the same idea, where they're just forced, and just by forcing yourself to notice something good helps you kind of, shift your perspective.
The concept of being an upstander that the kid would
Yeah.
I find that doing it in the house is very
Yeah.
they feel so rewarding. They know the concept of that because of school.
Yeah.
And like if you say like, wow, you were just an upstander for your sibling.
It's
like,
so powerful.
I feel like it created such a like extreme like happiness in them because they knew it from school.
So
and
powerful.
implemented it.
One of the things that I spoke to teachers about was ways to engage parents. I gave them some books and some ideas on how to kind of bring parents into it. And the more, thank you for mentioning it, because it's just more powerful. The more it's reinforced at home. The book of Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia, actually, which is an old childhood book, they have a character-rich curriculum actually for parents, teachers, and kids to do all kind of together. I presented it to teachers as well. But Wonder has things, and the Random Acts of Kindness is a whole website that has, ideas. So yeah, more community. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Nice to see you all. Wish you a wonderful week. Happy day.
It's not on Facebook Live. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post it. Yeah.